Why am I reading a book over and over again in attempts to kill a mid-level quest boss, being this giant that most people find easy to complete? Why am I spending over 10 minutes killing a singular Barrows brother, and even at some points trying to cook onions to do this? Well, those questions and many more will be answered in today's video. My name is Rendi, and I'm known for doing some pretty weird things in this game, but most of these things are all in the name of Fashionscape and just building very unique accounts. This video is in fact an episode in my series called the Defense Saga, where I try to build one of the most unique accounts I have had my hands on yet. I'm attempting to acquire just basically every physical item I can that I can wear and that I can show off, and that less than a handful, if sometimes not even any other Ironman defense peer has. So we're on a quest for Fashionscape, otherwise known as wielding high level items on an Ironman at a very low level, which means I'm going to have to do this as a defense peer. My main goal for this series was to get a fire cape, but I want to complete as much as possible besides that, and today's episode is going to focus around that. I originally wanted 43 strength bonus to hit 2s with a poison weapon, which would make the fight caves a bit easier to complete that fire cape. Today I'm not focusing on strength bonus, but instead I'm focusing on getting an item that no other Ironman defense peer has gotten, and that is the Dwarven Helmet. It will be my best in slot crush bonus, and even though it looks a little ridiculous, I enjoy the style this brings to my account. I'm also going to be attempting to get some Barrows pieces, and once again, these are not needed for the fight caves, although some tank gear would be beneficial to take on this challenge. And oh yeah, I'm also the only one prayer account in the game that's actively playing with Morytania access, meaning I'll be the only Ironman defense peer possibly ever to even try to get this gear, because Barrows crypts are in Morytania. So what am I doing in today's video? Basically what I want to and what makes me enjoy this game so much. I'm going to be finding all kinds of new methods, and I hope you find those as interesting as I do. There's all kinds of crazy things in this 22-year-old game that I still discover on a daily basis. Before we get into those discoveries, I have to give a shout out to our sponsor for today's video, and that is Honkai Impact 3rd. Honkai Impact 3rd is an awesome anime action video game. It features a gorgeous art style, an amazing storyline, and all kinds of battle tactics. You can roam through an open world or play through chapters, and it's overall just a beautiful game to play. You can find it on PC, Steam, Android, or iOS, and even Epic. On May 18th, the 6.6 version of Honkai Impact 3rd will be released with new plots, characters, and activities. In this new chapter, we're going to be starting off with a new combat system for the main story, Inscribed Whispers. There's also going to be a new battle suit called Dreamweaver for the character Hare, which has 2 forms during battle. Also, there's going to be a new character called Prometheus, and she's going to have a new SP battle suit called Terminal Aid 0017. There's also going to be new events added to this version, being a puzzle-based game called Terrari's Magical Quest, and lastly, there's going to be new outfits, and you can get these through a new event called Merry Market. So what are you all waiting for? The beautiful art style and the combat system in this game is something else. Give it a try. It's free. Download Honkai Impact 3rd now and use the gift code ASHKJHDU in the description to get 30 crystals, 2,888 astrite, and a Hersher trial card for free. I know I've already recapped a lot in the intro of this video once again, so I'll keep this short, but we are the only Ironman defense peer with 1 per Morytania access. We're the only Ironman defense peer with Berserker Ring and one that is imbued, much less. And lastly, we're the only Ironman defense peer that I know of with a Dragonfire shield. Once again, we're making this account a 1 of 1, and being unique on this account and having something that's very difficult to achieve is what I always strive for. Lastly, we're about 1 strength bonus off of the 43 strength bonus. We were able to get 42 strength bonus last episode, but the last strength bonus route for this account should be the worst, as I will require a Fremennik kilt in order to hit 2s with that poison weapon and get that 43 strength bonus in goal on this account. But for today's episode, at least, we're going to be taking a break from striving towards that 43 strength bonus. And instead, I'll be looking towards achieving the first Ironman defense peer with a Dwarven Helmet and Grimtail's quest completed, as well as the first Ironman defense peer with 1 prayer and a Barrows piece. Once again, I want to remind you that even if less than a handful of people have done it, it's still going to be satisfying for me. I just want to make this as unique as possible of an account. And some of the goals on this account are not going to be that difficult, but they're going to be very time consuming. So it's not a matter of skill always, but it's a matter of if you're as giga autistic as me and have time to search for these weird routes for these weird goals. So first things first, I can finally make brews on this account after over a year of farming herbs with my terrible farming routes. Yes, you're going to think this is ridiculous, but there's probably actually less than a handful of defense peer Ironmen in the game that can even make brews. Herb lore on these accounts is completely awful, and it requires a lot of farming levels and a lot of farming contracts, because that's really the only reliable way besides herbivore, which I plan on doing in the future because I can't get monster drops. I don't really kill many monsters on this account, considering the fact that I'm 1 attack and 1 strength. And speaking of farming levels, well, I got 99 farming. This is huge for the account because it's a quick teleport to the bank. I didn't have any teleports close to banks because once again I am 1 magic on this account and have a lot of quest restrictions. But now we have it as well. We can now do farming contracts much easier instead of taking a 20-minute route to the farming guild through running across the entire terrible continent of Zaya. We can go straight there with this farming cape teleport. Now talking about recoils. Recently they've added recoils to magpie impling drops, but it's 3 recoils and it's like a 1 in 20 chance of getting these 3 recoils. It's an awful method. Luckily, before the patch of Raids 1, I used a boost inside of there and took that boost all the way to the Fountain of Ruin, as you saw in my 3rd video, and made almost 2,000 rings of recoil. Actually, not almost. We made 2,000 rings of recoil. It took over 30 hours doing this method and a lot of raids boosting, but I did get this many recoils, and this is going to be great for my account as I don't have to hunt down endless amounts of magpies for the goals I'll be looking for, and I'm going to be using recoils in a lot of situations. Specifically, a lot of situations in today's video. But overall, in general, what am I going to be using recoils for? Well, there's a handful of things I can use them for on this account, and here's my list of what I'll personally be using them for. So I could be taking on hard clue NPCs and elite clue NPCs. Both of these are apparently immune to poison, but poison mechanics get changed, so maybe they aren't anymore. I'll find that out later on. As well, I could use recoils and brews for Hispori, but I might also need to add sweets into that mix as it has a lot of HP, and I think I can only do this with sweets in my inventory and wasting a lot from clue scrolls. As well, brews are going to be handy, and recoils for the fire cape, because I'm going to be using recoils on Jad to get Jad down as quick as possible and not have to spend like 20 hours relogging to try and poison him 8 times with my terrible accuracy and 1 attack and 1 strength. As well, I'll be using the brews in some waves to tank some damage if I need to. And lastly, there's a quest I've planned for a while to do, which is Grimtails on an Ironman defense peer. And this has to be done with brews and recoils. That's because the boss at the end of this quest is immune to poison, and there's even some more healing mechanics I'll get into later in this video that makes this boss damn near impossible. Now, because I have not been able to make brews this entire time, I did have a lot of toad flax from farm runs that I've done all the way till 99. As well, I've been cutting magics while editing videos, so I'm actually able to run birdhouses with magic logs, and I do have a high enough hunter level as well as crafting level to make these. So we have tons of bird nests, we have tons of toad flax, and now we have roughly 500 brews in the bank. And oh yeah, there might be one more situation where I have to use brews and recoils, and that is at the Barrows Brother Crypts. So like I said, Barrows is a possible place I'll have to use brews and recoils, but I want to use as little amount of recoils and brews as possible here. In fact, I want to try and do this with just 1 recoil a kill and poison, meaning no brews at all. Try, keyword try. That's because I'm trying to save as many of these as possible. So I just want 1 complete set of Barrows, not including the weapon of course, because I'm 1 attack on 1 strength. I can't wield any of those things. That's going to be, I think, Thorax. Thorax doesn't have any crazy specials going on. He's not like Guthans, where he heals himself every time he attacks you, meaning I can't even recoil Guthans. He's not like Darax, when the lower HP he gets, he just decides to max your whole HP. This guy seems pretty easy. He maxes, I believe, 28s with his hammers, and I have high defense. I think I can take him on. I think I can. I'm only 73 HP at this point. Later I do get 74, but it's not a big benefit. And brews could be possible here, but there's a problem with brews. They raise my defense. I tried actually taking on this boss with brews and armor, and he just actually could never almost hit me. And in fact, all of these Barrows brothers have a 10-minute despawn timer, meaning if I'm fighting them for more than 10 minutes, they just disappear, and then I have to fight them all over again. So I somehow have to recoil this guy down, and the brews aren't working. So I'm thinking, what other food can I use? Maybe something that doesn't raise my defense. Pineapple pizza, maybe, from the Ironman from Hell episode. I realized you can get a lot of these from the butler. But no, there's just not enough of these in the inventory to take down his entire HP, even though they heal a whopping 22 hit points each. Well, normal food would be great, but I just don't have enough of it. This boss has a lot of hit points, and I did in fact try poisoning him. It was just so rare to get a hit off, and even when you get a successful hit off with a poison weapon, it's only a 1 in 4 chance that it does poison this NPC. I would have to poison him twice, and that's how I could use the fewest amount of recoils, but I would probably only get like 1 kill an hour, if even that, on average with this weird method. This was because there's a natural regen rate, and I have to double poison these NPCs, and they have over 250 defense. I'm 1 attack and 1 strength, and yes, I even tried this with super pots. It was a no-go. I thought to possibly smuggle out the LMS boost, which is the 17/1 boost that was in the game for over 2 years, but as I found out, it no longer works. So I guess they decided that wasn't meant for the game and took it out, even though it was in the game not 2 years. I think it was actually over 3 years. I have at least 5 videos using this thing, and it was only helpful for like 1 attack, 1 strength accounts. So if this worked, maybe it would be possible to get a double poison off on the Barrows relatively consistently, but this method so far with the poisoning just was a no-go. It took too much time and was too rare to see. I'm going to be trying to save as much time as possible, so that does mean sacrificing some more brews and recoils, it seems. I can't use normal food here because there's just not enough in my inventory. Now, if I wasn't a hardcore Ironman, I could possibly death pile food, but I am one and I cannot death pile food, so therefore I have to utilize what's ever in my inventory. Now, to get here, I can either use the Shades of Morton teleport or literally Earth Altar teleport from an elemental ring, as I do not yet have Slayer rings, and I have to run all the way here. It's a very long route, so juggling food is probably a no-go, as well as I couldn't get back here in time. Maybe I don't need to waste brews at all. There were 2 possibilities with this, and still having the ability to have enough food to heal for an entire inventory, and that is strawberries at 84 plus HP. They heal based on your HP level, and I think if I had an entire inventory of strawberry baskets and this HP level, I could possibly take on 1 Torag kill. Another idea I had was getting 77 cooking and making fried onions. Now you can put 10 onions in a sack, and all you need is a knife, a bowl, and a fire to cook these things. At 77, you're never going to burn them, so I gave it a try. I spent 8 hours at Karambwan's Hopping Worlds and using some of my money from Iron Dragon loot I got before in order to buy these raw Karambwans and use my alt and cook them on my alt's fire. Now once I got 77, I stocked up on onions, and I needed a lot of onions. I mean, I need a lot of sacks of onions if this is going to work. Like 10,000 sacks, and that's 100,000 onions. And like I said, we're trying to save time. How long is it going to take to gather 100,000 onions? Only God knows. And the fastest way to do this is I found another shared store in the top of the Grand Tree, and this allowed me to sell 10 onions at a time and buy them on my alt account, putting them in sacks, then banking them. This allowed for my main to sell to the shop as long as it was only 10 at a time, and I did not overstock the shop. So I bought over 100,000 onions on my main to sell to the shop. Now, most shops aren't shared stock, but this one was, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just a little bit quicker than Hopping Worlds for the 10 onions at a time. P.S. Anyone trying to get Herblore up on an Ironman? This stock also has chocolate dust, which can be restocked by a main, so you avoid wasting time hopping worlds with Jagex's poor servers and their long wait time between the worlds. I also used shared shops again. I found one in Burthorpe that we talked about in the last episode to get Dwarven Stouts and to get Wizard Mind Bombs, which lower my defense, in order to get hit quicker and have my recoil go off quicker before the 10-minute despawn timer of the Torag brother. But it just seemed like nothing worked. As you can see here, frying the onions up, they heal 5 HP each, and that's 50 HP a sack. Torags just slapped the hell out of me, and I almost could not out-eat his hits. I would have to safe spot him, which took more time, meaning the 10-minute despawn timer was coming up quickly, and I could only get him to around 30% of his health left every time, even with these fried onions, meaning the despawn timer and me just having to cook these things took way too long. It was like a 3-tick cycle to actually just cut one of the onions into the bowl, and then it was like another 2 ticks to cook it, and then to eat it another tick. It's just a hassle, and the onion method did not work, even though I got 77 cooking basically now for no reason. And I bought a lot of useless onions. Hey, but at least I got some total levels up. And yes, I even used my alt inside of the Barrows crypt to make the fires so I could save inventory on logs. So far, nothing really worked, and I even tried lowering my defense with Wizard Mind Bombs, but that wasn't very helpful because if I took in Brews, my defense would just go right back up, and Brews at this time seemed like my only option to get consistent Torag kills. You might be wondering, didn't this guy already just say Brews didn't work? Yes and no. They didn't work with defense gear on, and that's because, like I said, Torag just wouldn't hit me enough and I couldn't get enough recoil damage back on him in the 10-minute time span. But what if I were to go in with no armor on, practically no defense bonus, and 100 defense? Well, then I could possibly actually get a kill off with the recoils in that 10-minute despawn timer. So it was finally time to test this theory, and to my surprise, it worked. Barely. I was getting kills right before the 10-minute despawn timer. Sometimes not. On a rare basis, it would despawn, but for the most part, I was able to get the kill. Another issue I ran into though was about a third of the time with my 0/1 stats from Brews, I was not able to actually get the 1 damage off on the Torag besides from the recoils. Now I used my Swiftblade to try and hit 1 damage over and over again on a 3-tick cycle because I needed to hit 1 true damage besides the recoils for the Barrows KC to count whenever I opened the chest. And you might be wondering, is this fool opening the chest with only 1 Barrows brother killed? Yes, I am, because it's the fastest and most feasible way for my account to actually get loot. Now, if I was to kill every single boss, my chances go up for a little bit more on the specific loot I want. But I'm not going to really be able to kill every boss, and even if I was, by the time I was able to do so, it would not be worth my time. Now, if I go and just check the chest after killing 1 brother, I get 2 rolls, and this is great because every roll after that is 1 until you've killed them all. I get a 1 in 196 chance total for the chest when checking for Torag loot, and I'll be getting only my very specific loot I want, being Torag plate, helm, and legs. And hammers, I guess, if I get really unlucky, and then I'll probably hate my life. So I was currently getting about 3 kills an hour, and we're looking at maybe 1000 KC to get all 3 at a normal rate. It could go way over that. It could be 2000, 3000 KC. I could be spending 1000 hours here just getting the Torags that I wanted. But today we're not going to be doing that. I stayed here for about 50 kills and was here for about a week and decided I needed to save the remainder of my brews or find a better method to kill Barrows later on, because there was one quest and one activity I did want to use the brews I had for, and that once again was completing the quest that no other Ironman defense peer had. Yes, Grim Tales. Grim Tales? Isn't that some piss easy mid-tier quest that almost everyone's done? Well, yes, but not for defense peers with 1 attack, 1 strength, and 1 prayer. Especially Ironmen, much less hardcore Ironmen. I know of only 2 defense peers ever who have done this quest. One did it through tick-eating melee, which is no longer even possible, and the other one did it through sheer RNG and use of brews. Now, I don't have purple sweets to just throw away, and like I said, tick eating melee is no longer possible. At least without accept aid because I'm an Ironman, and at least at a fast rate because I cannot rely on regen as I have to kill this boss as quickly as possible inside of this quest. Also, these defense spears weren't even Ironman, so the gear and the limitations they had weren't exactly the same. I'm going to have to maybe find an entirely new way of doing this, or just suffer the fate of pure RNG and go in over and over again against Glod and attempt to recoil him down with brews until maybe he doesn't heal himself. Yes, this boss heals himself once he's about under half HP. He has a random chance of healing himself for like 20 plus HP a time, so it makes some of your recoils totally useless, and you can only carry so many brews into this instance inside of your inventory. So in hindsight, I probably should have tested this quest on another account up to this point in the quest, but I decided not to, as I didn't have another account at the time with the requirements, as they are kind of high, and that had not had it done already, so I couldn't access this boss to see what was going on fully. Therefore, I decided to just send in attempts, tests, and runs with my defense spear and wasted a lot of brews and recoils in the process. Speaking of wasting brews and recoils, my first method of completing this quest was just that, going in and seeing how hard it was to get the RNG of just killing this guy and not doing anything other than just slamming brews down my neck and putting recoil rings on. In hindsight, once again, this was a terrible idea as I did not have brews and recoils to waste, especially brews at this point, but we did it anyways. We just went in head first and tried to attempt this boss as many times as possible, and not one singular time was I able to get him down even under 25% health. Now, there were times where I could get him down more than others, but overall, just RNGing this guy out is almost impossible. I would probably need roughly 3,000 to 4,000 brews of inventories to just go in here with recoils and possibly just kill him with no other niche mechanic or method used, and no purple sweets, while just waiting on pure RNG to out-hit his health regen. I tried going in like a maniac using all kinds of different stalls. Moving one tile and opening a book is a one-tick stall, and you can use it in combat. There's a lot of stalls you can't use in combat, like Cabbage Cape. You have to be outside of combat before you can use that emote. But one of the few that you can use in combat is moving and reading a book. So I was just brute forcing and decided to start stalling and seeing if maybe that stopped his heals or his other special attacks that he uses. I tried finding longer stalls I could use in combat on this account. Now I could use a ball of wool on a cat, but somehow even this old quest knew that I should not be able to take a familiar inside the actual quest boss area with me. There was a stop for this, and I was very surprised. So one stall I could use in combat was hot dwarven rock cakes while picking them up off the ground. This was like a 4-tick stall. It's a very weird one, and I have 3 hours till these rock cakes cool, so I would go and buy a lot of the rock cakes from the dwarf and excessively drop them on the ground, then pick them back up for the 4-tick stall each time. That shit hot, boy. Now, after excessively brute forcing stalls while fighting this boss, I realized something. He was no longer doing his special attack while I was stalling with this rock cake on a 4-tick cycle, and that special attack was pulling you in and pushing you out. It just never happened, and it seemed like his healing ability even happened less as well. But here's a hint as to why this video is a bit longer. It still happened. So I was extremely confused here, and I just assumed that this meant his healing ability happened on random ticks, but if I was stalling during that random tick, it actually mitigated that healing effect on himself. So by just stalling as much as possible during the end of the fight, I had believed that I was mitigating some of that health. So I went and wasted some more brews and recoils, but I still almost never could get him down all the way with stalls. And there was even a point where I literally killed him, but I was not able to do the damage, therefore the kill didn't count, because his defense was so high I was never able to hit the 1. This was after I wasted like 300 brews, and I was literally hitting my head against the wall because I wasn't sure if I needed to damage the NPC or not since it was instanced, and I was thinking to myself, I probably don't even need to hit a 1, so let's just send it anyways, and of course I get the kill, and it does not count. This boss does hit quite hard, and if I was to stall at the wrong time, I could easily lose my hardcore status on this account because the damage was stacking behind my stalls. So after seeing it was theoretically possible to do it with this method at a consistent rate because I got him all the way down to literally 0 HP, I sent a few more attempts and wasted another 100 brews, being the rest I had in my literal bank. Yeah, I would have to go plant some more toad flax, farm some more of these herbs, and then make some more brews before returning here a week later. A week passed by and I now had 100 4-dose brews banked. That means I had roughly 3 or 4 attempts at Glod, and I needed to make sure these attempts would be the ones that would get me the quest completion. Therefore I did what I should have done days and days ago, which is get up to this quest step on a friend's account and test the boss without being on a 1 attack, 1 strength, 1 per Ironman with the limited amount of brews I had. So yes, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity, which I had hit at this very moment. Therefore, I finally decided to do something different and physically go in and test this boss as much as possible before attempting it again on the Ironman I had just a very limited amount of brews left on. So I had found out actually through these tests on this main account that his weird attacks that send you flying or do other things that move you towards him are on a 4-tick cycle, which explains why, if I was reading the book every 2 ticks, that he never used these attacks in some cases, as long as I was on tick while reading this book. Now, I did find out that the healing ability that he has is not on the same 4-tick cycle, which also explains why using the book almost never mitigated the full healing potential of the NPC, unless I was off tick on that cycle and hitting the book oddly every 3 ticks, which then hit me to every 9th tick. That is where I found out it is after every 9 ticks when he is under half HP that he does use his healing ability on himself. So as long as I am stalled for that 9th tick, on my test account I found he never healed himself, which was amazing and would have saved me over 500 brews if I knew this and tested this prior. But where could I find a short enough stall that wasn't as complicated that involved me having to walk the tick before the 9th tick and use a book? Well, I went to Diego, my best friend here, and pulled out some holiday items and messed around with them, and come to find out, Easter came late. The Easter ring from the Easter event is exactly a 1-tick stall. You don't have to walk into it. It's perfect for this kind of thing. So I put on a tick plugin over my head. You can get this on the plugin hub. I forget what it's even called. But I was able to count ticks over my head to the 9th tick, and then I would then slam on the Easter ring on the 8th tick, sending the stall into the 9th tick, which would therefore mitigate Glod's entire healing capability. And with this theoretical process, I could then take Glod down with almost half an inventory of brews versus the full inventory before and me having to teleport out, wasting it all. So I would just attempt to hit the 1 damage before Glod went under half HP and his healing capabilities came into effect. Then I could just focus on eating, not dying, and turning into an egg every 9th tick past that under half HP threshold. Six, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Finally, holy that only took about 500 brews. And there we have it, literally on my 2nd attempt ever with the Easter ring and this new method. After just doing a little bit of testing on another account, I was able to complete the Grimtails quest. And this means you can probably complete this quest now without even the need of brews on a defense peer or any low level account. In fact, I think this quest to be very easy with this new method, and I'm glad I found it, and I'm glad I discovered a lot of new things in this video today. If you all enjoyed today's video, make sure and leave me a subscription on the channel, like the video. I appreciate you all being here. Once again, shout out to the Skull for making the animations in this video. We're trying to make these videos as top tier as they possibly can be, and I just appreciate you all allowing me the ability to do this and make what I truly enjoy. I'll see you next time in just a week or two.